I'd like to first introduce my sister, Katrina Lantos Swett, who is here and will give some opening remarks. Katrina?
Thank you, Annette, and thank you all for being with us here today. It's exactly 1 year ago in this very same location that we met to formally join forces with our dear friends and colleagues at MEMRI to dedicate the Lantos Anti-Semitism and Holocaust Denial Archive. The purpose of this living archive is not merely to document the appalling instances of anti-Semitic hatred and incitement that saturates so much of the media in the Middle East, but to deploy this knowledge as a powerful tool in the hands of policymakers around the world. In just 1 year, we have seen how access to this disturbing but essential information has served as a catalyst to action by the Congress of the United States and the government of France, just to cite 2 examples. In December of last year, the United States House of Representatives, by an overwhelming vote of 395 to 3, passed H.R. 2278, calling on the President annually to report to Congress on anti-American incitement to violence on television networks in the Middle East. The lead sponsor of this critical legislation, Congressman Billerica, who was not able to join us today, has credited MEMRI and the documentary materials from the Lantos archive as being the critical spur to this legislative action. Meanwhile, literally just a few days ago, on April 8th, the French government announced that it would ban the broadcasting in France of the Egyptian Al Rama TV. This historic decision was based again on documentary evidence provided to the French Broadcast Ministry by MEMRI and the Lantos archive. What we were able to do was to make it possible for these government officials to see and hear with their own eyes and with their own ears the despicable content that was being spewed forth. In one particular segment of much of the programming that we brought to their attention, the presenter on this particular show, addressing himself to all Jews, says, and I quote, "Your turn has come at last, you offspring of apes and pigs. You most accursed creatures created by Allah. I have a message for every Jew on the face of the earth. The army of Muhammad will return, O offspring of apes and pigs. The day of vengeance is nearing." This is just one tiny example of the poisonous vitriol that spills forth in this region of the world, things that would shock the conscience of most people, but remains hidden behind that veil and behind that wall of the language barrier that separates us. And it is our work, the work of the Lantos Archive and the work of MEMRI, to bridge that language barrier. To their credit, the French government acted to keep this venom off their airwaves. But had it not been for the work of MEMRI and the Lantos Archive materials, the poisoning of the French airwaves would have continued unabated. We are gratified to see the real impact the Lantos Archive is having in informing and influencing policymakers across the globe. And we are committed, under the exceptional leadership of Yigal Carmon, to lengthening our stride and extending our reach. My late father, Congressman Tom Lantos, saw and experienced firsthand as a boy in Hungary the power of words, especially words amplified and disseminated through the immense power of television. The power of those words to spread hatred and slander, which in his own life had the effect of turning his neighbors and his schoolmates into his persecutors and would-be killers. His own tragic life experiences taught him that the same culture and sometimes the same minds and hearts capable of creating art and literature and music and science that uplifts, inspires, and advances can also turn their strengths to the service of unspeakable evil. He dedicated his life to fighting against this evil, and I know that he would be proud to see the work that MEMRI and the Lantos Foundation are undertaking in his name. Dad often said, and just before we came here, my mother, my sister, and I visited the cemetery where he is buried, and this inscription is on his tombstone. But he often said that the veneer of civilization is paper thin. We are its guardians, and we can never sleep. MEMRI and the Lantos Foundation remain ever watchful, ever wakeful, and ever vigilant in defense of human rights, justice, and a civilized world in which each human being is respected and protected. Thank you.